Good day, everyone. This day, I'm going to tackle about the three mathematicians and their contribution. And before I start, let me introduce myself. By the way, I'm Rowan Shane Cerizo, Bachelor of Science Secondary Education, major in Filipino Batch 2. And now, first, Jacob Bernoulli. Jacob Bernoulli, famous as mathematician, born on 27 December 1654 AD. Died on 16 August 1705 AD. Place of death, Basel, Switzerland. Father, Nicholas Bernoulli. Mother, Margareta Bernoulli. Siblings, Johann Bernoulli. Spouse, Judith Tapulos. Education, University of Basel. Discoveries and invention, Constance E. Work and achievements of Jacob Bernoulli is equation Bernoulli numbers, Bernoulli trials, Bernoulli's inequality, and lemniscate of Bernoulli. Jacob Bernoulli can be rightly called the initiator of the Bernoulli's families. A class of his own, Jacob was bright and intelligent right from the very beginning. Jacob Bernoulli, he researched concept brought about a revolution in Swiss mathematics. Jacob Bernoulli is credited for being the first person to develop the techniques for solving separable differential equations. He is also responsible for the Bernoulli's numbers, by which he derived the exponential series. In addition to that, the subject of probability, which is now called the Bernoulli law of large numbers, also falls in the kitty of his prominent and renowned The Mathematician, which this article know more about the life and his story of Jacob Bernoulli. Jacob Bernoulli foremost the significant contribution to mathematics were noted in the pamphlet accounted information on the parallels of logic and algebra and his work on probability. These were published in the year 1685. 2 years later, Bernoulli's work on geometry was published, which gave a construction to divide any triangle into 4 equal parts with 2 perpendicular lines. In 1689, Jacob Bernoulli published an important work on infinite series and his law of large number in probability theory. According to his interpretation, if a number of times, then the relative frequency with which an event occurs equals the probability of both. From 1682 to 1704, Jacob Bernoulli published 5 treatises on infinite series. He also researched on the exponential series, which came out of examining compound interest. In the year 1690, Jacob Bernoulli proved that the problem of determining the isochron is equivalent to solving a first-order nonlinear differential equation in the paper published in Acta Eruditorium. According to it, the isochron, or simply the curve of a constant descent, is a curve along which a particle descends under gravity from any point to the bottom exactly the same time, regardless of what the starting point is. After finding the differential equation, Bernoulli then solved in Biden. His paper of 1690 is exceptionally essential in the history of calculus, since it was then that the term integral appeared for the first time with its integration meaning. Other than this, Jacob also ascertained a general method to determine evolutes of a curve as the envelope of its circle of curvature. In 1692, he investigated on the caustic curves, particularly those associated with the curves of the parabola, the logarithmic spiral, and epicycloids. 2 years later, he first conceived the lemniscate of Bernoulli, and later that year, he carried out a research wherein he applied calculus in the building of suspension bridge. In 1696, Bernoulli solved the equation, now known as the Bernoulli equation. However, Jacob Bernoulli's most notable work was the Ars Conjectandi, the art of conjecture, which was published posthumously in 1713 by his nephew Nicholas. Herein he went on the brief about the known results in probability theory and its enumeration, often providing alternative proofs of known results. The work also includes the application of probability theory to game of chance and his introduction of the theorem known as the law of large numbers. The terms Bernoulli trial and Bernoulli's numbers are the products from this work. Second is Blaise Pascal. Blaise Pascal, famous as French mathematician, physicist, inventor, writer, Catholic, philosopher. Nationality French, religion Roman Catholic, born on June 19, 1623. Died on August 19, 1662. Place of death, Paris and France. Father, Etienne Pascal. Mother, Antoinette Bigon. Siblings, Jacqueline Pascal. Work and achievements of Blaise Pascal is invented mechanical calculator, hydraulic press, and wrote famous religious work like Lettres Provinciales and Fincis. Blaise Pascal was a French mathematician, physicist, inventor, writer, Catholic, philosopher. He did pioneering works in calculating machines and came up with the mechanical calculator. He was an influential mathematician and made significant research in areas like projective geometry and probability theory. He also made important contribution in arithmetic triangle and cycloids. Along with Fermat, Pascal came up the calculus of probabilities, which later led to the foundation of mathematical theory of probabilities. He also worked in natural and applied science and made important contributions in concepts like fluids, pressure, and vacuum. Honoring his works and contribution, his name Pascal has been made the SI unit of pressure and also a programming language. His other notable contributions include Pascal law, Pascal triangle, and Pascal wager. His religious works, Lettres Provinciales and Da Pincis, had a religion influence all over France and created a new level of style in French prose. Pascal always remained an influential mathematician throughout his life. His convenient tabular presentation of binomial coefficient described in his straight dot triangle arithmetic, released in 1653, later became famous as Pascal triangle. In 1654, following a friend, the Chevalier de Mary's interest In gambling problem, Pascal discussed this subject with Fermat, which later led to the foundation of mathematical theory of probabilities. One of the gambling problem was on two players who wanted to finish a game early and given the thin condition of the game, wanted to share the stakes fairly, based on the fact that each player had equal chance of the winning that much from the point. In his context, Pascal used a probabilistic arguments, also known as Pascal's wager. The work done by Pascal and Fermat later helped Leibniz formulate infinitesimal calculus. Pascal also made important contribution to the philosophy of mathematics, priest, following the views of Galileo and Torricelli. He opposed the Aristotelian notion which says that a creation is a thing of substance, whether visible or invisible. He advocated the presence of vacuum in substance. He said that it is the vacuum which keeps the mercury floating in a barometer and even fills the space about the mercury in the tube. In his work in 1647, experienced novelist Touchant Levi, he gave more experiments regarding his statement on vacuum. This experiment performed by Pascal were praised throughout the Europe and established his principle and also the value of barometer. Third is Perry de Fermat. Perry de Fermat, born on August 17, 1601, died January 12, 1665 in Catrice, France, age of 63. Famous as French mathematician. Perry de Fermat was one of the first half of the 7th century, independently of Descartes. French mathematician who is often called a founder of the modern theory of numbers. Together with René Descartes, Fermat was one of the two leading mathematicians of the first half of the 7th century. Independently of the Descartes, Fermat discovered the fundamental principle of analytic geometry. His methods for finding tangents of curves and their maximum and minimum points lead him to be regarded as the inventor of the differential calculus. Through his correspondence with Blaise Pascal, he was a founder of the theory of probability. Little is known of Fermat's early life and education. He was of Basque origin and received his primary education in a local Franciscan school. He studied law, probably at Toulouse and perhaps also at Bordeaux. Having developed taste of foreign language, classical literature, and ancient science and mathematics, Fermat followed the custom of his day in composing conjectural restorations of laws. Work of antiquity. By 1629, he had begun a reconstruction of the long-lost plain loci of Apollonius, the Greek geometer of the 3rd century BC. He soon found that the study of loci, or sets of points with certain characteristics, could be facilitated by the application of algebra to geometry through a coordinate system. Meanwhile, Descartes had observed the same basic principle of analytic geometry, that equation in two variable quantities define plane curves. because Fermat's Introduction to Lucy was published posthumously in 1679. The exploitation of their discovery, initiated in Descartes' geometry of 1637, has since been known as Cartesian geometry. In 1631, Fermat received the baccalaureate in law from the University of Orleans. He served in a local parliament at Toulouse, becoming councillor in 1634. Sometimes before 1638, he became known as Père de Fermat. Though the authority for this designation is uncertain, in 1638, he was named to the criminal court. And that's all for today, the three mathematicians and their contribution. And thank you for watching. God bless you all. Bye-bye.